Hello everyone and welcome to my completely self-indulgent video where I just talk about shit that I like. First thing we're going through is my, of course, Tappy Tunes library. Primarily, we're just going to be looking at the subscribed section today. And we'll go ahead and start from, I think I already talked about King of Gaming Bugs in a previous video. I haven't really read any more of that. I'm actually wondering if I want to drop this one because while it's good, it's not nearly as good as Dungeon Reset or actually I'll go to the Time Till Free one or like I'm the Max Level Newbie, which are both like top tier writing. He's good, but it's definitely more of like a stereotypical kind of not shoujo, shonen sort of writing where it kind of feels like it's taking a long time to get to where we want to be, and the main character is a little bland now that I've read a little bit more. It's a kind of stereotypical geeky guy trying to get the girl and proving himself that he is extremely confident. It's not, I don't know if I can really judge it, but after leaving it and coming back for a bit and having read other ones with characters that I find more compelling, I don't know if I want to keep reading this one. I'll become the heroine in this life. I haven't read any more of. It's kind of on the bottom of my list. I kind of want to read more of it only because I like the idea of a writer getting sucked into her own story to become the lead after through like an event that she wasn't actually anticipating or things not going quite how she wants. Her main character like died. So that's kind of interesting. The Empress wants to avoid the Emperor. I need to read more of this because I remember that she did not want to. She was I like the ones where like it's this dignified wife that's mistreated, and she's like, you know what, I'm fucking done with this, and she goes to leave, and it realizes, and like the guy that was kind of treating her like shit realizes she was the whole reason he was even able to fucking do the job that he did because she was taking care of everything. She was taking care of her job, the consort's job, because apparently the way a lot of these like Regency ones are set up, I don't remember this ever being a thing in any of the history that I've read or that my mother, who's very into French and English history, has ever shared with me. Maybe this is something that happened with like Asian Regency and monarchy type setups or empire setups, I guess. There's like a queen and a queen consort, and they're two separate people. And but And depending on the story, one can like give birth to the heir, but the other one will always their offspring will always be excluded from the heir, except for the situation in which the empress bears no heir, or like the queen bears no heir, or whatever configuration. There's been different names for them, and that's kind of the setup that's of this one. And she was doing not only her job, not only the consort's job, but also some of the emperor's job. So like he treated her like shit, and she was the workhorse. He was so fucking stupid, and now he's trying to win her back, but her family, his mother had isolated her from, it's like fuck no, you won't. This is our baby. We love her. We've been so sad not having contact with her for the past 10 fucking years because the church apparently determined that she was anyone who had her would thrive, and so therefore the emperor took her even though he didn't love her and loved someone else. Like it's this whole fuckery thing that I need to get back into. Dungeon Reset is one of those like 80 arc long stories. I don't know how long it goes on. It's good. It's entertaining, and I like that the main character kind of has no fucks to give and is kind of making the best of the situation. He's a really positive guy, but it's also very like dark in its humor in a lot of ways. Like he comes off as like he recently saved this kid, and that is part of a new game because there's this cycle of people coming through that's playing the game. They've been abducted from our reality and forced into this game to basically, from what I've learned, and this is a bit of a spoiler, but to be sacrifices for the god of their world. Like it's this whole thing, but it wasn't even fully known to who was the assistant of the first round. He wasn't even like an actual moderator or whatever, the manager or whatever it was, the people that oversee those different levels were. But he didn't even know until this guy here, our main character, ended up with a in a shrine because he had fucked around so much and been able to avoid death so much and kind of glitched in the game system itself because it's kind of like a game. It's a reality that's a game. It's weird. And was able to find an abandoned temple with a dragon that has long since been dead and is nothing more than bones now. And he's become the new guardian of the temple. And so he's gained like weird powers and we're still kind of finding stuff out. It was recently on sale. A number of chapters were recently on sale, so I've been reading a little bit more of it. It sucks you in. Like I can walk away from it pretty easily, but it also once I have like a few chapters, it will suck me in and I want to read more. So in that way it's really good. Return Survival I have not read since I um was first able to see some free chapters, but it's one of those zombie ones and he died in the zombie apocalypse, but then suddenly was sent back something like 6 months or something, and has been preparing himself to survive more, and he can anticipate certain events. And so in that way, I'm kind of interested. It kind of reminds me of Zom 100, which I need to get back to, but because that one's more comedy, this one's more serious. Beloved by My In-Laws is like this slice of life wish fulfillment sort of fantasy, one in which like the daughter was not treated well and now the family sees her for who she is. They saw her goodness, her kindness, and they are kind of reteaching her with love. And the mother is very much like if she doesn't fall in love with any of her sons, then this girl's not married. Their whole goal is to kind of build up her self-esteem, and it's really sweet. And my dog just broke into my room. All right, so my dog only breaks down my door when she has to go to the bathroom, but she doesn't like going to the bathroom by herself at night. So I had to take her out. But we're back. So, The Duchess Who Sees Ghosts is another one that I haven't read since I got the free chapters. I'm still really curious about this one. It's kind of a stereotypical romance, but then there's this supernatural element to it, and it seems like there's more. I remember there's more than meets the eye to this one. I kind of need to revisit this one. Uh, Becoming You was a really interesting one in which it was an isekai in which she was put in the body of the woman this guy fell in love with, but he has a condition in which after they sleep together, they will switch bodies. So she does that so they switch bodies, and then immediately ghosts him while he's in her body. So she leaves and goes to correct this condition that he has where every time he sleeps with someone, they switch bodies. So that doesn't happen. And when she fixes it, they're both in opposite bodies. They're or back in their own bodies again. And that's kind of where I left off on this one. I kind of want to revisit it. But all of this stuff costs like each chapter costs 30 cents, which doesn't sound like much, but it adds up when you think that uh, each series can be is typically they typically end at around 120 chapters, but they can go up to I'm following a couple that have like 250. So it gets expensive and I gotta pick and choose. Villainess's Revenge is Sweeter Than Honey. I have to revisit this one. I actually don't remember what this one was about. All right, I just jogged my memory for this one. So, A Villainess's Revenge is Sweeter Than Honey is another one of these ones where it's not quite isekai. It's not like Divorcing My Tyrant Husband, which is still fucking fabulous. But A Villainess's Revenge is Sweeter Than Honey involves a woman from her own world dying at the hands of her husband, who again she sacrificed everything for. She sacrificed her own family for. Her family died. Her family went into poverty in order to keep his like because I think it's supposed to be the emperor or a duke or like someone of high status in order to keep him afloat. I'm pretty sure it's the emperor. And he sleeps around. He doesn't treat her well, and then he kills her. I think for some trumped up charge. And so she's sent back in time to deal with him. And I think if memory serves, she starts falling for this other guy, but at the same time, she's like, my focus is like bringing him down. Which is also kind of the storyline of another one, which we'll get to, which I've read more of and is even better than this one, although I still want to read the rest of this one. Divorcing My Tyrant Ex-Husband, as I've told you guys many times, is one of my favorites. I love it. It's this woman that came from our world, Korea, was put in this woman's body, and in the story, she was going to be abandoned and eventually died from overwork and neglect, essentially. But now the emperor, is absolutely infatuated with her. The saintess is not getting what she wants out of the situation, and he is having to compete with another man that has his eyes on her because she was donating to an orphanage that his illegitimate, well, no, was it his illegitimate son? I think it's his illegitimate son because I don't think he was married to the woman, but he was prepared to take that child in, but he's seen as like a monster because of like his whole family line is seen as like monsters, and the woman that he loved did not want her child to be seen as a monster and did not want him to grow up that way. He gave up his son to an orphanage but continues to donate to the orphanage, and so that way they have enough money, but he's worried about people tracing the money that he donates to that orphanage back to the fact that he has a son there, and so he was worried about having to stop donating to that orphanage and them not having enough money because for some reason in this world it's seen as like a waste of money to donate to the poor among nobility, like especially hospitals and orphanages and shit like that. It's seen as a waste of money for some reason. She did not feel that way, and she's like, well, if my goal is to piss off the emperor and spend all his money, I might as well spend it towards good causes, and donated to the orphanage that his son lived at. And so he was really grateful. She's like, it's really no big deal. He fell in love with her, and so now he's getting jealous, which is so fun to see. And then her family that hasn't talked to her at all since she was married for like 3 years. They haven't had anything to do with her, especially once her marriage wasn't like doing super well. Now that word is spreading that those two are getting together because he is putting on a big show, so that way as a way to stop her from continually asking for a divorce, and he's basically made this sworn oath that he's never going to divorce her. Her family comes out of the fucking woodwork to basically ask for money. Of course, ask for money, and it genuinely upsets her, even as someone from another, because it kind of mirrors something that she dealt with even in her uh life here in our reality. And it was really kind of cool because he stepped up and he basically humiliates him and saying to them, you need to leave tonight because we're not hosting you for, I think it was supposed to be like a number of days. And that's where that one left off. I'm really looking forward to that one more. Your Majesty, please spare me this time. I think I went over this. I haven't read it in a little bit. This is another one where her family died at the hands of the emperor, who's seen as this cold, heartless person. So when she was sent all the way back in time to when she was like 7, she works on herself some until she's old enough to be a lady in waiting, except it's not the prince isn't the prince. He's disguised as a princess in order to help avoid potential deaths, because I think in this one princesses can't inherit the throne, only male heirs can inherit the throne. And so to kind of keep her somewhat safe, they've presented her as a girl to protect him. And she already knows this, and she serves him even though he's cold and he's rude and he's bitter. And he has won her heart. Turns out, oh right, and his father had completely usurped the throne. That was another thing, was that his father had killed the emperor to gain the throne, and that led to all sorts of political conflict. All the more reason why he was presented as a girl instead of. That actually doesn't work because it was revealed that she was the true heir of the throne, but she's a woman, so that would not work. I don't remember why he was presented as a girl for so long. I think it was to help prevent assassination attempts, but she's the true heir of the throne. She was the daughter of the emperor that was killed when they thought they had killed his entire family, but they hadn't, because she was entrusted to this other family that is working to overthrow him, and that is why they died and why she died in the previous timeline. And that's where I left off. Could the boy next door be a vampire? This is a very typical BL romance with a lot of hinting at the fact that this guy is a vampire, given that he is very sensitive to the sun and he doesn't seem to eat a whole lot, that sort of thing. The extra mighty one girl changes the world is involving, so he's technically part dragon. He was kept in a dungeon and more or less tortured, and I don't remember what her exact role is, but she has a lot of magic. And so she's an extra in the story, but she's from another world, and she was reading the story that featured him. He was kind of not, I don't remember if he was the main character or what, like a very big side character, but she loved him and wanted to make his life better. So after she was sucked into the world, which she had no hand in, she then proceeded to free him and his mother from the constraints of this evil empress and free them. She then proceeds to make a bunch of fake money and live a fabulous life. Uh, but he is like desperate to stay in touch, and so she stays in touch with him. And now they've picked up this other guy that was playing piano, but that was abducted by human traffickers, most likely to be sold to noble women to pleasure them. And so they rescued him and burned the human traffickers on this very small island, and kind of just left them to burn to death. And that's kind of where I am at that one. Hair Raising Desires is it's a mature series involving this guy that has an incredibly sensitive scalp and a hairdresser, and it's basically BL with lots of feelings and some smut. Watch out for the Dream Demon. This one's kind of interesting because this guy is destined to have nightmares every night, and then I think that he's some sort of demon. I want to say incubus, but I might be wrong. And he wants he like apparently the best tasting dreams are nightmares to demons, and so he desperately wants to eat his nightmares. But he has all sorts of talismans and stuff to ward off against demons. It doesn't help his nightmares at all. But he also is struggling because a lot of his nightmares revolve around a figure that looks a lot like him. And I read up to like the free chapters, and that's right. It's cute. It looks like very fun BL romance sort of stuff with demons. This one, even though it sounds like it would be explicit, is not explicit at all. Noir in the Winter Garden is not a very complex story. This girl who was last in line for the throne, but was targeted by a number of family members, is uh, essentially shipped off to this really remote place. They don't even like her. Because she's an outsider, her marriage won't be accepted. But even then, her brother, who was the emperor and the one that shipped her off, and she thinks is a good guy, actually skimped pretty heavily on her dowry. A lot of people think that she's, too bright for such a dark place. A lot of the like people in the empire, like the one person in the empire who's really on her side, but the prince seems to like her, and she's trying to make the best of the situation. It's a very kind of simple story, but it's cute. The Mistress Runs Away. I haven't read this in a little bit, mostly because it really looks like she's going to end up with her very abusive partner. Like, he was just so horrible. Like, he was absolutely horrid. He was horrible. He treated her like shit. He is abusive to everyone around him. He has serious anger issues. And she faked her death to get away from him. She dyed her hair so she won't be recognizable, but everything in it is very much hinting that they will end up together. And I'm really like even wondering if I want to keep reading this one, because the more I read it, the more she's like, but I do have like lingering feelings, but I can't put myself in that situation. And it's like this kind of wishy-washy, but she's ultimately wanting to do it for her son. Little does she know that he realized that her son was his son as well, and he was treating his son well for a bit, but she's still scared of his anger, and so she wanted to get the two of them away from him, which is completely understandable. But everything about it is kind of pointing back. He had a failed marriage with someone that was arranged for him. She kind of she went nuts and I think, is in a psychiatric facility, even now after dealing with him. And like, there's just so much wrong with him, as it's this really interesting train wreck, but after a while, you can only hear the sound of metal like grating and twisting so much before you're like, I don't know if I can keep reading this. You Mustn't, Your Majesty. I was able to read a couple more chapters of that one. I'm really interested in this one because I find this is the only one I found so far in which the protagonist keeps dying but keeps going back. It's really interesting. It's clear that they're going to fall in love. I'm just wondering where exactly it's going to go from there because her whole goal is to keep him alive because he's been dying too. And so I like the whole strategizing thing. I'm kind of wondering if she's going to die in this current timeline and then we'll have to see her reset and try to do things as I kind of like that form of storytelling where the person has to continually die within the same reality and then they're trying to change things over and over and over again to try to survive. I like that method of storytelling. I don't see it a whole lot. It's not a common genre. It's not a common facet of storytelling is to have like the main character die over and over again. But I rather enjoy the kind of timeline fuckery of it, you know? An alliance for marriage, absolutely fucking tragic, but absolutely. But I really need to. I can't believe I haven't read this for a month because I need to get back into this. There was, I think if you guys, I think I told you about it, but like she was killed by the emperor, of course, woke up in some random woman's body, aligned herself with him, who was in love with her when she was in her previous body, and so they're putting together this fake marriage. I think he's actually falling in love with her. But but the bit more interesting thing that's happening is that the emperor like senses something like with his new empress. It's the reason why he killed her for. And he is making his life absolutely hell as a way to also stabilize his position. And just because he hates him because he's a dick, he took his sister and was holding her hostage and she was forced to dress like a boy and she wasn't treated very well. And then what ended up happening was sister was taken to the forest during a hunt and with some clever finagling of the emperor, she ends up dying and but he can't take her home because then it would draw too much attention would cause it would make him even more of a target. It would he would be forced to basically throw her in a mass grave essentially because of with the empress is a sadistic asshole and also during due to customs at the time. So instead, she ends up in her own unmarked grave, and they can't have a funeral because that would be flying in the face of the emperor. So they kind of have this small ceremony just kind of in the woods. Then where I left off, they were doing this big kind of display to put pressure on the emperor of like you killed her sort of thing. It was interesting. Yeah, and Ballet's fiance, it's really just kind of one of those she's quirky and he digs it sort of thing where she's and like she with a little bit of polish from his mother and sister she is blossoming into society and she is quirky in that she likes alchemy over high society interactions. It was on sale not too long ago. I was able to read a couple for free and then now it's a wait till free option, so I've just been doing that. If I can read the vast majority of it without paying for it, I think it's worth a read for me just because it's a cute story. Isn't something I'm super invested in. Lady Beasts, so they were switching bodies constantly and they didn't know why and they're so like he's slowly falling in love with her. She's already fallen for him. She was treated like shit. He's actually treated her very decently and she's shown herself to be very confident in her role as Duchess. And they've also learned that she might have too much mana in her body, and that is why they keep body switching. But there is this whole complex thing around him in which people are trying to kill him, and she's very devoted. It's just this kind of cute couple shit. I woke up as the ugly duckling. I haven't read this one in about a month. Nothing's changed from when I last spoke of it. Uh, it starts off there's a lot to the story that I it's going to take me too long to go through. But where we're leaving off is I still don't know what's going on with the Satan thing. I know there's something about Satan and a deal made with Satan and the bigger thing is that she to kind of water it down cuz we're like in the 100 and something chapter now. Um She is reborn, a reborn version that was then reborn in our world, then reborn back into her original world. Even though in the, well, not her original world, it was the world that she was forced into before, but like a shooting star in which her whole body came into it. And then when she was reborn in our world and then reborn again in her the image that she had when she came to this world the first time at the beginning of the world. And this guy that has existed since the beginning of the world and was obsessed with her, even though she had no romantic feelings for him, and he was basically friend zone, and he went fucking nuts. And I think he ended up killing her. I don't remember whether he killed her or she just died. I think we're still finding out about that. But at some point, she died when he was a young-ish man, and he did some magic fuckery to make sure that she would be continually reborn until he could meet up again with her. And now he's trying to make her love him, and it's weird and it's creepy. Call me the devil. So they're all devils. She's a devil too. The spoiler. Too late. Sorry. But it's on hiatus, so who the fuck knows when we're gonna get a conclusion to this story. It's devil fuckery. That's what this series is. Devil fuckery. The King and Me is one in which he goes on an archaeology visit. There's a statue that has nothing but kindness and affection for him, and ends up following him back to where he's from, and uh he and protects him, and they fall in love, and the statue like falls apart and he like dies, and he is of course distraught. So, and before he knows it though, he's sent all the way back in time from when that statue was made and gets to see the actual person that it was based off of, who acts like an actual who absolute tyrant, but actually treats everyone pretty well. But no one trusts him, and everyone thinks that this guy is an assassin, and he is trying to connect with the pharaoh, I think it's, or the king, and uh is having some middling success, and that's where I left off with that one. My bias is showing is just BL fuckery. That one, that's all that one is. It's just fluff, pretty much. The Black Mirror, I honestly thought was going to be more horror focused because it was so much like shit happening in the background. There's this pitch black room that has nothing. His memory is gone. We don't fucking know. But for the most part, like there's been a little bit of that. There's been a little bit of horror, but it's like a lot of wet dreams and like starting to, but not going all the way with these two. Tied to You was BL uh Fated Partners, pretty much. Secret Life of Emperor Isana was Witch of Pain, except the Witch of Pain was then had done something to where she was swapped bodies with someone from a different world. She doesn't entirely know what's going on. The Emperor is onto her, tried to kill her, failed. She's learning to control her magic some more, but doesn't want to cause people pain, even though that's what gives her power. And then there was an attempted assassination on the Emperor, in which she was wrapped up in that, and that's where I left off on that one. And this is taking longer to get through than I thought. I didn't realize how fucking many of these. So we're gonna go lightning round now. So becoming the lady of the cursed ducal house. He has siblings that turn into dragons for some reason, but when she's with them, they act like kids. So they look like kids, and it seems like she might be the secret to their family curse. A tipsy marriage proposal from the emperor. They met in a bar, and she made some mistakes and agreed to his marriage. And she was wearing a wig, and she thought he didn't know who she was, but he does know, and he is not being like taking it very seriously. Hoodwinked at first kiss. She knows that she was isekai'd from our world into this world. She was knew that she was gonna die and worked to avoid it. Thought he was a servant, treated him as such, but in a polite way. Just thought that he was a servant, didn't realize who he was, and he's falling for her. How to break up in a romance simulation. She got so far in the game that the game people offered her a new updated version which was like a VR set, and but she cannot take it off, and so and all of the it's become streamlined to where all of the routes go into each other, and but she didn't get a chance to go after the guy that she liked the most. She was saving him for last. And so now she is rejecting some of those guys that clearly have feelings for her because she wants to be able to pursue him and get that ending. And in doing so, the first guy that she had tried to let down and say it's not going to work out, unalived himself. And so now she doesn't know what the fuck she's doing. And she's a little traumatized by it, which I can't blame her. But she's still pursuing him. Um, Born as the Second Daughter. This one, the title is there's no like significant reason. She thought she was the second daughter because she thought she had experienced a life in which she died and then was reborn, but in truth, her mother had just turned her body back to prevent a curse from killing her. The mother absorbed the curse. It killed the mother. Father found her. Her and her brothers are all, not her and her brothers, but her dad and her brothers are all doting on her. And now she has a couple of different um, potential suitors vying for her affection, which is pissing off the brothers because haven't even been able to get time with her, and they're jealous, and it's just kind of weird. It's like the weird like it's not siscon, but it's like the obsessed with little sister sort of thing that doesn't want her to leave or develop relationships outside, and the father's including that too. Like it's played off wholesome. If you don't read it too much into it, it's a cute series. But you really can't read too much into it. Ashtart. Oh, I need to read more of this. It's a homunculus, and we're learning more, and there's more people that are learning and realizing that Ashtart is actually a very sweet person. She's getting more of her powers, but the homunculus tried to kill her, and that's where I left off. I need points, I need coins. Gotta wait though. Gotta wait, because I already spent too much money on a different series, which I will address. I'm in love with my foe. I don't fully remember what this one was about. I only got to read like 4 chapters. Don't remember that one too well. I'm not sure I'll stay with that one since I can't even remember it. Necromancer, haven't really done much more since I last talked about it. He basically has this OP um, ability that no one else has, and we get to see him kind of explore the OP ability. I became the lousy side top as someone again that was isekai'd from our world into a story that they read, and his character was supposed to die, and so he's tried to treat this guy that lived just such a fucking miserable life better in the hopes that his future boyfriend doesn't kill him. And while it sounds like the lousy side top sounds like it would be an M-rated, it's actually very wholesome, and he's more into it for like taking care of this guy's younger siblings, and this guy's therefore falling in love with him. But the old like it wasn't quite yakuza, it was just like a gangster sort of guy is now entering the picture, but he seems more interested in the side top than in the main character. And he doesn't the guy that was isekai the side top doesn't know what to do with that. Performing the obsessive male lead. I don't even remember that one either. Chris attendant of the Duke's Castle. I mostly just remember her trying to avoid him because I think she was going to die again from this, and but she keeps ending up like running into him and having just terrible luck. The Tyrant's Guardian is an evil witch. Uh, Again, isekai'd. Her character originally treated him terribly, and then he rose up, became emperor, and killed her. So she's trying to avoid that, and it looks like he might fall in love with her, which is kind of weird given that she's his guardian. And I don't know if I really want to keep reading it. It started off really cute, and I like the idea of she's trying to repair the neglect and hostility that the went on in the original story. But I don't know about them ending up together. It feels weird. I will not return to my family. She was officially kicked out of her family because she doesn't have a gift, and they wanted to take the person that she was betrothed to and give it to her sister who does have a gift. and they act like she's just this burden on the family, but little do they know that her gift is bringing those around her good luck. And so she was kicked out. He took her in, and almost immediately, and this is as far as we've gotten, I'm still waiting for the next chapter to upload. The family is starting to experience shit. Their carriage broke down, and I can't wait to see them experience more because I want them to pay for what they did to her. It was so fucking bullshit. Cherry blossoms after winter school romance. He lost his parents. His mother adopted him. They had a kind of a cold relationship, but they're warming up now. It's cute. Becoming the obsessive male lead's ex-wife. This is another one where she was gonna die at the hands of him after being accused for poisoning him, and she doesn't want to die, so she tried to treat him better. Little does she know he is still obsessed with her, and he still loves the character that she was. And now there's been lots of talk about producing an heir, but it's on hiatus, so I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen with it. This one's on hiatus too, but it's slated to end at in January. So I'm really looking forward to that. There's no use hanging on. So there's no use hanging on is about a story about a girl that was betrothed to the second prince of the empire, but she fell in love with the fifth prince after he became childhood friends with her after she lost her mother, and he was very kind to her. And so she devoted her life to him, and she devoted her existence to helping him. But all while this was happening, she was also like being poisoned and had declining health. And on the day she made it to the day of his like commencement, like making him the emperor, and he got to choose his empress that day, and he chose her cousin instead of him. So she unalived herself. And then she was reborn a number of years earlier. He thinks that he still has her under his thumb. It's revealed later that he also went back in time after he died, and him choosing her cousin was like a stupid move. And he thinks that he realizes that how much he missed her and what big mistake he made after letting her go when she died. He was really upset about it, but now she remembers everything and she wants nothing to do with him. So she's going to back to the second prince, her original fiance, who has actually been in love with her, like head over heels in love with her this entire time, and has treated her very well. And not only that, but the thing that I really loved about this particular series is that she realizes what her single mindedness in devoting herself to that fifth prince actually made her blind to so many other people. Like, there were so many people that were willing to help her, so many people that were rooting for her that she didn't even see and that she kind of pushed aside because she was so focused on helping and winning the affections of the fifth prince. And now that she's seeing all of that and she's making these connections with people, she really wants nothing to do with him. And the fifth prince is imploding. And it is like the best revenge story ever. Like, it's so satisfying. It is so satisfying. I highly recommend it. Something else I've read that I feel the need to share is Danny Phantom has a comic that just came out. Yes, Danny Phantom. I fucking loved Danny Phantom as a teenager. This was my show. I loved it, and we get some resolution to the whole alternate timeline arc from I forget what the series was called, but with Dark Danny, and it was the alternate timeline in which he lost all of his he lost Sam Tucker, um Jazz, and then his parents, and he was adopted by Vlad Plasmius, who then extracted his ghost self from his human self, and then the ghost self took over and took Vlad's too, and that created Dark Danny. Um, there was a series of fuckery in which Dark Danny was released, given that that was like highly foreshadowed in the original cartoon, and it just never came to fruition. And it's very much like reading a it's called A Glitch in Time, and it's very much like reading a Danny Phantom episode. I mean, it's so good. It's so satisfying. It is the best thing. If you were ever a fan of Danny Phantom, you have to read it because it reads like an episode. You were like reading the storyboard of an episode. It is perfect. It is fabulous. And so much of it is done so fucking well, and I am gonna give spoilers with this because it was just done so fucking well. The jokes are done well, all the references to the characters are done well. They retcon that shit of an ending. God, that ending pissed me off so much. The Destructoid thing still happened, but it was resolved in some other way. And Danny was not outed for his ghost self, like he was not he at the end he has to choose between being known but losing his powers, or keeping his powers but everyone no one remembers him and everyone hates ghosts. He now lives in a world that everyone hates ghosts and is very big on anti-ghost um city. But it's also revealed to us that ghosts are uh human emotion. That's where all ghosts stem from. And his powers are tied to his sense of purpose, which I thought it sounds stupid, but it's played off in such a way that it makes so much sense for the universe. It's done really well, and there is a little bit of a foreshadowing that we might have a sequel to this even. And it's done so well, and Dark Danny gets a good ending, like as good as he can. Like he's like struggling to stay in this reality because it's kind of hard to have two Dannys in the same reality. And it turns out Vlad is still doing his creepy cloning shit, and there is a Danny body that can secure the spirit of Dark Danny into this reality with the clone Danny. And Vlad seems to be like wanting to do something right, and it seems like he's going to actually try to mend some of what went wrong with Dark Danny. And it looks really interesting. And we also there's something going on with Val, but it's not fully addressed, and it's part of the thing that I'm thinking like we might get another sequel to this. It is done extremely well. I swear to God, I would have thought like this was left on the cutting room floor, which is something that was never able to be released because it is so good. Finally, I am playing My Next Life as a Villainess. This is the side story that takes a place kind of like in an alternate universe version of the manga and anime, in which she goes on a cruise that then turns into a pirate adventure. So far, I've only finished. And I hate this. I hate that they still use Jordo. Jordo. It's Gerald. Gerudo sama is Gerald. It just Gerudo sama, which I think I'm fucking up a little bit because I haven't seen how it's written in Japanese, so I don't know exactly how to say it. But it's Gerald, not Jordo. It was meant to. I don't understand how Kisu, which was translated correctly into Keith, and Nikoru was properly translated into Nicole. Why did we end up with Jordo? Why did we end up with Jordo? Anyway, I finished Jordo's arc, and it's absolutely fab. Like he's the first yandere-esque character I have ever liked. He's very princely but also very possessive. And there's even an ending in which he basically holds her captive. But it was like the softest captive yandere ending I've ever seen. Like it wasn't the cage with Toma. But it was fun. Even the way like she has a doom ending in which she dies, but that one was still that fun because he goes full dark and just burns everything to the ground, which was kind of fun to read. Next up, we're moving on to Keith, which, for anyone who doesn't know, he is the adoptive brother of her. Her family adopted him because of his superior earth magic. And I'm not fully through his route yet. Otome Kitten labeled him as breedable, so I'm curious to see what that means. Um, and the interactions between Mary and Jordo, especially in Jordo's route, were top tier. Top tier. Like the bisexual harem is in full force, and it is just the perfect amalgamation of everything that was in the manga. And I haven't seen the anime, but in the manga, like it's perfect representation. I love it. It's so good. This is Alan. These two are technically twin brothers. Jordo and Alan are technically twin brothers. Um, but Silva and Rosie are exclusive to this game. I haven't finished playing it. I'm still on Keith's route, and then I think it goes Jordo, Keith, Alan, Nicole, Rosie, Silva. I think that's the play route order. But I look forward to playing more of this because it is a lot of fun. It is if you tried to dive into Otome before, but you ended up with Hakuoki or Cafe Enchanté or amnesia memories and maybe Toma scarred you, or Sweet Fuse and The Secret Route, which was really fucked with you. This is really light. This is Otome light. This is Otome. It's very much Otome, but it's such comedy, but it's well written, and it's a good introduction if you want something light and fun. Um, Last things to know, I am on winter break, officially starting tomorrow. The time of this recording, I don't know when this is gonna. It's probably gonna. This video will probably come out close to the end of my winter break. But I have to make my dog a rug because she loves the macrame rug that I made for myself, and I want her to have one. And it Christmas is in like 10 days, and I have no idea if this is gonna. I don't know if I'm gonna get the rug finished in time. I'm also working on making Pokemon and making a second pair of pajama pants, and finally inking all of my Inktober drawings, a bunch of shit. And so this was just a self-indulgent video that I did not expect to go for an hour long. This just goes to show how much I can fucking talk about shit. And I'm sorry the visuals weren't terribly interesting, but I felt like I needed them because I was using the mouse to point people out. But I hope you I hope this wasn't terribly boring and annoying for you guys. This was something just completely self-indulgent for myself. But I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.